Apni birthday cake kusamni akela karatha, candles jal rahi thin, lekin uski zindagi unthari tea, tabhai akanak teen chodi hathaneni uska hath pakra. The room was quiet, too quiet for a birthday. A small chocolate cake sat on the table, its candles flickering gently as if they were the only ones who remembered what day it was. Daniel stood in front of it, hands in his pockets, staring at the soft glow. No music. No laughter. No friends. Just silence. "Happy birthday to me," he whispered, forcing a smile that never reached his eyes. Just a year ago, birthdays used to feel different. The house was filled with balloons, messy wrapping paper, and the sound of tiny feet running across the floor. But life had changed quickly. His wife was gone, and with her, the warmth that once filled their home. Now, Daniel was learning to be both mother and father to his 3 little daughters. Triplets. 3 little souls who depended on him for everything. He took a deep breath and picked up the knife. The candles trembled as he leaned closer, ready to make a wish. But what do you wish for when you're already giving everything you have just to survive? Before he could blow them out, a soft sound came from behind him. "Daddy." Daniel froze. He slowly turned around and saw his 3 daughters standing in the doorway, still in their pajamas. Their tiny hands clutched each other, their sleepy eyes filled with concern. "Why didn't you call us?" the eldest asked quietly. Daniel tried to smile. "I didn't want to wake you. It's okay. Daddy was just celebrating a little." The girls looked at each other, and without saying a word, they walked toward him. One by one, they reached out and held his hands. Their fingers were small, warm, and gentle, but in that moment, they felt stronger than anything. "You're not alone, Daddy," one of them said softly. His throat tightened. He hadn't realized how heavy his heart had been until that moment. The youngest stepped forward and looked at the cake. "We made something for you." She handed him a folded piece of paper. It was slightly wrinkled, covered in crayons and uneven hearts. Inside, there were 4 stick figures holding hands, 1 tall, 3 small. Above them, written in shaky letters, "Best Daddy in the world." Daniel felt his eyes burn. He blinked quickly, trying to stay strong. He had promised himself he wouldn't cry in front of them. But it was hard. Because for the first time in months, he didn't feel alone. The girls began singing softly, their small voices filling the room with a warmth no decoration ever could. "Happy birthday to you." Their voices weren't perfect. They missed notes. They giggled halfway through. But to Daniel, it was the most beautiful sound he had ever heard. He closed his eyes and finally made a wish, not for himself, but for them. For strength. For better days. For a future where they would always feel loved, safe, and never alone. When he opened his eyes, the candles were still glowing, and his daughters were still holding his hands. And in that simple moment, something inside him changed. Daniel wiped his eyes quickly and smiled at his daughters. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice heavy with emotion. "This is the best birthday I've ever had." The girls hugged him tightly, almost knocking into the table. For the first time in months, the house felt alive again. The silence that once filled every corner was replaced with soft laughter and warmth. "Make a wish, Daddy," the youngest said excitedly. He looked at their faces, hopeful, loving, and full of trust. Then he leaned forward and blew out the candles. That night didn't end with sadness. Instead, they sat on the floor together, sharing slices of cake, talking, and laughing about small things. The girls told him stories from school, silly jokes, and even argued about who loved him the most. Daniel listened carefully, realizing how strong his daughters had become, and how much strength they gave him in return. Days passed, and something inside Daniel began to shift. He started waking up earlier, packing their lunches with little notes inside. He attended school meetings, learned how to braid hair, even if it wasn't perfect, and read bedtime stories every night without fail. Life was still hard, but it no longer felt empty. One afternoon, while cleaning the living room, Daniel noticed the drawing again, the one with 4 stick figures holding hands. He stared at it for a long moment. He wasn't alone. He had never been. That realization pushed him to take a step he had been avoiding for months. He updated his old resume and applied for a better job. Not just for money, but for a future. For stability. For his daughters. Weeks later, he received a call. He got the job. It wasn't just an opportunity, it was a new beginning. When he told the girls, they jumped with excitement, hugging him again and again. "We knew you could do it, Daddy," they shouted. That night, they celebrated with homemade pancakes and loud laughter filling the kitchen. Months went by, and their lives slowly transformed. The house felt brighter. The smiles stayed longer. The pain of the past didn't disappear, but it no longer controlled them. On his next birthday, Daniel woke up to a surprising sound. Surprise! The living room was decorated with balloons, colorful ribbons, and a bigger cake than before. The girls stood proudly in front of it, holding a banner that read, "Our hero, our dad." Daniel stood there, speechless. Just 1 year ago, he had cut his birthday cake alone, believing life had taken everything from him. But now, standing in front of his daughters, he realized life had actually given him something priceless. Love. Purpose. Family. They held his hands again, just like before. And this time, he wasn't wishing for strength, because he had already found it. In their smiles. In their hugs. In the simple truth that even in the darkest moments, love can rebuild a broken heart and turn an ordinary birthday into the beginning of a beautiful new life.